This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us this Monday, March 8th, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Democrats in the Senate passing the massive COVID stimulus bill, saying people still need help, despite Republican objections that it's full of unnecessary pork and will add to the national debt. California pastor John MacArthur providing an unusual take on the issue of religious freedom, saying it's not an issue he would spend a lot of time fighting for politically. We're going to tell you why he believes that. Fox News meteorologist Janice Dean has been in the spotlight for speaking out against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. But as she tells CBN News, she knows how to find the light during the dark times. And Christian actor and producer Kirk Cameron bringing an online campfire discussion on biblical truths and today's world. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. We begin this half hour with a massive COVID stimulus bill. It took the Senate 27 hours Saturday to pass the $1.9 trillion bill along party lines. It means more help is on the way, even though the Congressional Budget Office projects the economy is expected to grow strongly this year, even without a stimulus package. It also means the government is about to go some $2 trillion deeper into debt. Dale Hurd is on the story.
The House is scheduled to vote Tuesday on the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. While the Senate removes some pricey items, critics say the bill is still full of pork, most of which has nothing to do with COVID.
I promised the American people that help was on the way. We've taken one more giant step forward in delivering on that promise.
The Senate version removes the $15 minimum wage, cuts off relief checks for incomes above $80,000 for individuals and $160,000 for households, and lowers the federal unemployment boost from $400 to $300. West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin was instrumental in getting rid of the $15 minimum wage in the bill, something that's viewed as a job killer.
If everyone agrees it should be raised, but we need to the base of our minimum wage should be above the poverty guideline.
The final vote passed along party lines, with Republicans united against a relief plan loaded with pork barrel spending.
The Senate has never spent $2 trillion in a more haphazard way or through a less rigorous process.
That spending includes $500 million for museums and Native American language preservation, $1.5 billion for Amtrak, and $50 million for environmental justice grants.
Where is this money coming from now that we've got a $28 trillion tab in debt?
Well, it's coming from your children and your grandchildren. It's all borrowed money. There's $200 million for library services. There's over $300 million for the National Endowment of the Humanities and Arts. There's $20 million for native language studies. These all may be good ideas, but they got nothing to do with COVID.
Mark Hamrick, Washington bureau chief and senior economic analyst at Bankrate.com, says the massive government spending will help the economy in the coming months, but raises the threat of inflation.
The inflation worry is going to be with us for quite some time, but in the near term, that's going to be more rocket fuel for the recovery.
The bill is expected to pass this week, and checks should go out by the end of the month. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is resisting the growing calls for him to resign after two more women have come forward with allegations of inappropriate behavior. Cuomo denies one of the incidents ever happened. Many of the calls for his departure are from state lawmakers in Cuomo's own Democratic Party. The majority leader of the state Senate, Stewart-Cousins, is one of the Democrats calling on Cuomo to step down. But Cuomo says there's no way he will resign and he will wait for the state attorney general investigation. The growing harassment allegations come as federal authorities are looking into why the Cuomo administration didn't report the true number of COVID-19 deaths in state nursing homes. Officials from the Biden administration visited the southern border over the weekend as the number of immigrants coming into the U.S. has been growing. Republicans charge there is a crisis at the border. Migrants are making the dangerous journey to the U.S. CBN contributor Chuck Holton is in a hazardous area many migrants must pass through to get to the border.
I'm Chuck Holton, and this is the Darien Gap, that very inhospitable jungle between Colombia and Panama. And this path behind me is being used by migrants from all over the world to get to Panama on their way to the United States. This is including people from Nepal and Pakistan and Africa and the Middle East. And all of them have one goal in mind, and that is to get across the U.S. southern border. But before they can do that, they have to walk through this really inhospitable jungle. It'll take them about 6 days. There's no clean water, lots of snakes and bugs, and bandits. Almost everyone who goes through here gets robbed, raped, and some of them even get killed. The people who come out on the other side say it was the most hellish experience of their life. I've just been on this trail now for about an hour trying to find these migrants, and what I've found is that it's extremely difficult to hike this trail, and Panama is a lot farther away than it looks. It's actually that mountain behind me. So I climbed for about an hour up this mountain and thought that I would find the Panamanian border here, but it's actually another mountain away. So what that says is that the people who are coming through here really have no idea of just how difficult it's going to be. And if they did, the ones who come out the other side have told me they wouldn't do it. But unfortunately, they're coming now because they say their friends and relatives in the United States are calling them and telling them, Joe Biden is president, now is the time to come.
Chuck, thank you. Jury selection begins today in the trial of Derek Chauvin. He's the Minneapolis police officer who pressed his knee into the neck of a black man, George Floyd, last summer for about 9 minutes while holding him as a suspect. Floyd's death set off protests over police brutality and racial injustice. The case has already gone through a variety of legal maneuvers. Picking a jury is expected to take at least 3 weeks. Chauvin and 3 other officers were fired. The officers will face trial in August. Amid unrest last year came calls to defund the police and to redistribute funds for police departments to other government agencies. But a new survey shows the idea has very little support among the public. Only 18% support defunding the police, while 58% are against it. In a USA Today Ipsos poll, 67% of whites oppose it, but blacks don't support it either. Only 28% of blacks favor the idea. Israel reopened most of its economy Sunday, removing many of its remaining coronavirus lockdown restrictions. Israel has been helped by its successful vaccination campaign. Sporting events, hotels, and primary and secondary schools are opened back up, as did bars and restaurants.
We feel very good about reopening the restaurant. We've been closed for 6 months. We feel lucky that we can host people again, give them great food, great music, see the light in their eyes, make them and us happy again. It's very important for us to do it, so we feel very happy about it.
Nearly 90% of the country's population over age 50 has been vaccinated or has recovered from the virus, while the high-risk population, largely inoculated decision makers, concluded it is safe to reopen. The reopening of the economy could help Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's bid for re-election later this month. And we have an important announcement of a new free service from CBN News to share, a CBN News daily email called Quick Start. It gives you the stories you need each morning by 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get important national, international, and faith-based news delivered right to your email inbox. You can subscribe to Quick Start at quickstart.news. Coming up, Pastor John MacArthur of Grace Community Church in California taking a very different position on religious freedom in America. We're going to tell you what he said and why he believes it when we come back. California pastor John MacArthur provided an unusual angle on the topic of religious freedom recently, arguing it is not an issue he would spend a lot of time fighting for politically. And his statement has attracted quite a bit of interest from many Christians because of their own strong feelings about the need for religious freedom in America. FaithWire.com's Dan Andros joins us now with more on this. So, Dan, let's begin with what exactly did he say?
Yeah, well, he said it during his State of the Church address that he gives regularly. And he made that argument that he wouldn't be spending a lot of time fighting on the issue of religious freedom. Obviously, religious freedom, a hot button issue for evangelical conservatives, Christians especially. But he said, I wouldn't fight for religious freedom because I won't fight for idolatry. Why would I fight for the devil to have as many false religions as possible and all of them be available to everyone? He went on to explain why making deals with the government on this issue is problematic. He said that the evil kingdom of darkness hates God and hates what God loves and loves everything that God hates. And the kingdom of darkness is never a friend of the light. He said even the rulers have exchanged the truth of God for a lie. And he said they function under the liar, Satan, who is the father of lies himself. He says, so there's absolutely no reason for us to make any alliance with him whatsoever. So that was his rationale that he put out there.
What's his response to those who ask, isn't religious freedom important for Christianity?
He said he did pose that question, and he said, no, it's, quote, meaningless. He said it doesn't matter what laws the government makes or don't make. They have no effect on the kingdom of God. He said, Jesus said, I will build my kingdom and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Now, a lot of people pointed out to MacArthur that despite having this strong opinion here, he himself was in court fighting what many would say would be a religious freedom issue with his own church that was sort of facing these restrictions from COVID during that whole pandemic.
So then he believes Christianity will advance without any kind of help from the government.
Yeah, he argued that the apostles turned the world upside down with no help from it, no social action, no alliances. And he said, we don't need the government to expedite the gospel. And he went on to say that, ultimately he believed Christianity is the real target of persecution efforts because it's the one true religion. He said, when religious freedom sort of categorically is eliminated, the only religion that will be punished is the truth.
All right, Dan, before we let you go, what's ahead on FaithWire tonight?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about spiritual warfare, and we're going to be talking about MacArthur's comments a little more in depth, and also comments from progressive Christian Pastor Shane Claiborne on Christian nationality. Christian nationalism. So we're going to talk about those and more.
Thank you so much, Dan. I want to remind you at home that you can see FaithWire this evening at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, she's well known on Fox News as a meteorologist, but Janice Dean has also been in the spotlight in recent months for speaking out against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo after her in-laws died in the state's nursing homes. Despite the difficulty, she knows how to find the light during the dark times, and we're going to hear about that from her coming up next.
His story has inspired the world for thousands of years, while some scholars doubted his very existence.
We are shedding some light on the story of David and Goliath.
This is ancient biblical Jerusalem.
CBN Films presents Written in Stone, House of David.
Extraordinary discoveries made headlines around the world.
Written in Stone, House of David. Get your DVD copy for a gift of any dollar amount.
Janice Dean delivers forecast on Fox News with a sunny smile, but now she's in the spotlight for a serious reason, her personal crusade against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. She lost both of her in-laws to COVID-19 in state-run nursing homes. CBN's Jenna Browder spoke with her about finding the light, even during the dark times.
There's no way Janice Dean could have forecast the dark times ahead in 2020 for her family. She lost both of her in-laws to COVID-19, and there were other ups and downs too. But still, she managed to find and is finding the sunshine.
And I'm glad you're leading with weather because this is a huge story.
The warm and witty Fox News meteorologist writes about all of it in her new book, Make Your Own Sunshine, inspiring stories of people who know how to find light in dark times. And dark times she certainly knows.
One of the terrible tragedies that happened during this past year is we lost my husband's parents. Both died of COVID in separate elder care facilities. Never in a million years would I have thought that something like that could take their lives so quickly. And it was terrible. There's no way to describe it any better than that.
Since their passing, Janice has been using her platform to speak out against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's under federal investigation for his handling of the virus in nursing homes. The scrutiny growing by the day and now reaching a boiling point.
The truth is everybody did everything they could.
I never wanted to be a political person. I'm the meteorologist on Fox. No one knows who I voted for. I don't comment on political matters on television. But I started learning more about Governor Cuomo's executive order to put COVID-positive patients into nursing homes for 46 days. And we are finding out more information that it was over 9,000 of those infected patients that went into nursing homes. And I wasn't seeing the coverage on television. I was learning this after my in-laws died. We had no idea that there was this executive order in place, and I wasn't seeing the news stories out there. I felt like it wasn't being covered.
Janice wants answers for her family and all of the others who lost loved ones. In the book, she writes about finding the light in life's hardest moments. Janice features everyday heroes, from the teacher who cut her students' hair to the Uber driver who helped a new mom buy baby clothes.
Every chapter is basically about a story about somebody who did something kind for someone else, and many of them pass it along.
That's what her husband did for her when COVID nearly squashed her 50th birthday.
Yes, I was going to celebrate my 50th birthday in Las Vegas. I had planned, dinners and outings and dancing with my closest girlfriends. And it came to a screeching halt, obviously. We couldn't do that. So my husband planned this wonderful birthday for me, and I never expected it.
She describes how he decorated their home like a casino, arranged a car parade, and even set up Zoom dates with her coworkers and friends.
And I wrote about it because it was something we were all going through, and it was a moment where my husband went outside of the box and did something so special. And to me, it was probably the best celebration of my 50th year on this planet. And it happened to be going on during a pandemic.
I know you talk about your own battle with MS, and you feature some other people who are also struggling with it. A couple of questions. One, how are you doing? And two, on this topic of sunshine, and how do you cope with that on some of your tougher days?
It's a good question, and I did write about two wonderful ladies in the book about having MS and having a chronic illness. We don't have a cure for it. I'm doing well. I've been diagnosed now for 16 years, and I've had bumps in the road, but I'm, knock wood, relatively well. I mean, I have a great neurologist, I'm on a new therapy that I've been on for a couple of years now, which has been working well for me. I just actually had a new MRI, round of MRIs done on my brain, which is something that will tell my neurologist if there's any lesions, new lesions on my brain, and I am clear. So that's great news. But I think something like that, being diagnosed with a chronic illness or going through challenges, if they're health challenges, it does make you appreciate every single day. I know that every day that I wake up and I put my feet on the floor and I get up, I'm grateful for that.
Janice says writing this book was actually healing for her in many ways.
Well, just the fact that we were going through such a dark moment, and it made me appreciate the kindness that was happening during that terrible time, from the school principal calling us and checking in to see how we were doing, to the local firefighter who brought us a meal and left it on the doorstep, to strangers who sent me cards and prayers.
And she hopes it'll be healing for readers too, who maybe need a little encouragement or that extra shot of sunshine. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Coming up, actor and producer Kirk Cameron in the middle of his online series, American Campfire Revival. It looks at biblical truths and today's world. We're going to tell you what made him decide to start this internet discussion when we come back. Stay with us.
I spent many years here.
Now available.
Though I'm not from this land.
From CBN Films.
And I've returned with a message.
I Am Patrick. Get your DVD with 4K streaming access for a gift of any dollar amount.
I received a divine revelation.
A splendid account of St. Patrick.
He didn't know what he faced, possible death.
I Am Patrick tells his story with truth, candor, and beauty.
Christ the Lord told me to come here to preach the gospel.
Featuring John Rhys Davies. Get your DVD of I Am Patrick for a gift of any dollar amount. Also included is your special access to the St. Patrick's Day premiere of the I Am Patrick theatrical release with exclusive bonus content on the CBN Family app. Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit iampatrick.com today.
He's an actor, producer, as well as a Christian, and now Kirk Cameron is nearly halfway through his 100-day plan for praying for restoration within our country. In his American Campfire Revival, Cameron announced his initiative after the Biden administration rolled out its plan for its first 100 days. Cameron said that rather than waiting for someone else's 100-day plan to unfold, we should go on the offense and roll out our own 100-day plan. His plan incorporates sharing ideas based on biblical truths in video posts on social media. You can find out more about the American Campfire Revival series and hear Cameron's discussions at CBNNews.com. It's time now for your Monday Motivation, and today I want to leave you with this thought to jumpstart your week. What surprises you doesn't surprise God. He knows your start, your finish, and every moment in the middle. So be steady when you face surprise and be at peace knowing your Heavenly Father isn't surprised. He's with you before, during, and after it all. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at the address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right back here tomorrow. Make it a marvelous Monday, everybody.